All right, fans, as we continue with tonight's RWL Rage Ladies Division action with Tatiana, the Golden Goddess, set to go one-on-one against the Yankee Rose, Miss Georgia Washington.
Now this is gonna be an interesting one. Neither one of these gals is what you'd call popular, and it's gonna leave the fans wondering, just who in the hell should I even be rooting for? Plus, Titania is gonna be Georgia Washington's toughest opponent so far.
The following match is scheduled for one fall with a 15-minute time limit. Introducing first, from East Hollywood, California, the Golden Goddess, Tatiana.
Well, that's a little bit off. I know Showbiz is in the building. It's kind of weird that she's not here at ringside with Titania. I'm not sure what the reason is, but she usually would be. But tonight, she's out here on her own. Titania's friend and sometimes lackey, Showbiz, conspicuous by her absence this evening.
Her opponent, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Yankee Rose, Miss Georgia Washington.
This is about to get way colorful, guys. The big bad 6-footer Titania outsized and outweighs Georgia by a pretty hefty margin. Plus, she's a serious power player. Georgia Washington's gonna have to have her game dialed up to max for this match.
Because if Titania gets a hold of her, it's over. Quite possibly, Martin, if Georgia Washington isn't careful and Tatiana gets a hold of her for any length of time, she could be in a whole heap of trouble. Add to that the fact that Georgia Washington's track record hasn't been too bad since she made the scene here in RWL. She doesn't want to mark up a loss on her record right now. I think Tatiana is going to prove to be Georgia Washington's toughest challenge so far. Referee Walt Rothburn sounds the bell. Titania charges a running kick, takes Georgia down to the mat. Gets her up to one knee, fails to connect with the overhand right. Georgia counters. A spinning elbow that barely phases Titania. Titania whipped into the far corner. Oh, Titania blocks it and takes her down with another clothesline. Georgia Washington already having her difficulties at the hands of Tatiana into the turnbuckles. Goes Georgia Washington. Titania rounds her up again, but whoa, mumbo jumbo, quick move and a quick takedown from Georgia Washington. The Yankee Rose with a kick to the midsection and a spinning neckbreaker and a beautiful one. Georgia gathers up Titania again. Whoa, hard forearm, but whoa, the size and power of Tatiana. Absolutely unfazed by Georgia Washington's forearm. Georgia rounded up and a nasty backbreaker as Titania stretches the lower spine of Georgia Washington. Trying to get a little admiration from the fans despite her unpopularity. Georgia counters with another forearm, makes herself back inside the ring. Titania whipped to the corner. Quickly counters and escapes the corner. Rear waist lock from behind. Georgia Washington with an overhand right. Titania counters with an overhand right. Georgia whips Titania to the ropes. Another forearm. Oh man, it's going to take a lot more than that. Georgia Washington with a neckbreaker on Titania. Now Georgia Washington, just about as popular as Titania herself, trying to get support from these fans who don't even know who to root for at this point. Whoa! Neckbreaker draped over the middle rope by Georgia Washington. Titania with a hard right, countered with a kick to the midsection. Georgia sets up for another neckbreaker and nails it. Titania down on the mat as Georgia covers. One, and only a one. Uh-oh. Titania quickly back to her feet. Georgia ducks out of the way. Into a Luthez press. Hard right hands across the head of Georgia Washington. Quickly back up on her feet, but quickly up over the shoulders of Titania. There's that Samoan drop that Titania is known for. Georgia making her way up to her feet. Quickly countering Titania into the corner. Kick to the midsection. Georgia countered. Georgia counters. Dragon screw. Takes Titania down. Titania rounded up again. Kick to the midsection. And another neckbreaker for Tatiana. Georgia Washington rounds her up again. A chop across the chest. Quickly countered by, another running kick. That takes down Georgia Washington. Georgia up on one knee. Double axe handle across the head. Georgia quickly back to her feet. Whoa, another quick counter from Tatiana. And another counter from Georgia Washington. A running forearm that goes absolutely nowhere. Up over the shoulder goes Georgia. And dropped headfirst into the top turnbuckle in the far corner. Tatiana, perhaps with the advantage here at the moment, slams the head of Georgia Washington into the mat. Tries to follow it up with a stomp, but doesn't succeed. Snap mare takes Georgia down to the mat again. Elbow to the midsection from Georgia Washington. And look at this. Wrap around DDT. Nicely executed by Georgia Washington. Now both ladies out on the outside. Georgia Washington trying to rally some support from the front row. Titania with a couple of hard shots as the referee begins his count. Georgia counters. Takes her down to the floor. Georgia gathers up Titania again. Gets her back inside the ring. And here comes the Yankee Rose, Georgia Washington, right behind. Georgia Washington hurling Titania into the corner. Titania quickly escaping and following it up with a loop chest press. And another series of hard right hands to the head of Georgia. Georgia steps out for a quick reset, takes herself back inside. Look at this. A little game of musical chairs going on here between Titania and Georgia. Both ladies back inside the ring now. A clothesline takes Titania down to the canvas. Georgia Washington, another clothesline, and another. Whoa, here we go off the ropes and a third. Down she goes. Georgia covers. 1, 2, 3, and that is it. Georgia Washington in an upset defeating Tatiana by pinfall.
Here's the time, 5 minutes and 19 seconds. Your winner by pinfall, Miss Georgia Washington.
Georgia Washington pulling off a decided upset win over Tatiana by pinfall. And lover or hater, you've got to be impressed with that level of performance.
Gotta agree with that, Dom. While I'm no fan of Georgia, taking down Titania definitely constitutes bragging rights. Not that Georgia has ever had any problems bragging on herself, has she?
She sure hasn't. Everybody knows Georgia Washington is the president of her own fan club. And on that note, we'll be back with more RWL Snarl right after this.